back murderous aura flew slowly to the gate, and everyone still didn't understand what was happening. At the same time the door cover with that black aura flew, and the door slammed shut, and everyone was shocked to seeing this situation.
Round-headed guy and the wire-bearded guy said in panic at the entrance. Is it planning to trap us in?
Suddenly the rough guy shouted, "Get out of the way." Then he held his shield tightly to rush into the door, to put shield corner to trying to open the door with his full strength, causing shield damage as soon as he rushed in the door. The door fully closed, the rough guy's shield got a crack and he was pushed a meter away. He angrily said, "Damn, just what is that monster?"
On the other side the monster smiling, and the aura flowing around him. He looked at everyone at this moment. The voice of Captain Choi said, "A hobgoblin chief priest." He frowned and said, "He's a C-rank rare monster. Monsters that appear with low probability within the gate."
After hearing Captain Choi, the round-head guy and beard guy said in shock, "A rare monster?"
Both the brown-haired guy and rough guy also hear the Captain Choi and said in shock, "It's SC rank as well?"
Jin Tae-kyung, after listening to the captain's Choi, he gasped, his face turned red and thinking, what the hell? Why is there a C-rank monster inside an E-rank gate?
The captain turned to look the other side, and then mentioned, looking at the black evil energy that was about to gradually form a human. It was still making strange sounds. Gradually its feet appeared. After a while of absorbing enough evil energy, the monster's feet appeared more clearly after absorbing all dead body evil black energy. Looking at its huge shape, he complete his form. Captain Choi said, "Another hobgoblin chief warrior. It's a C-rank rare monster as well."
Everyone was stunned. Only a few words appeared in everyone's mind. We're going to die?
The team leader saw that everyone's morale was low and spoke up, "But this doesn't mean this is the end for us." He pulled out his sword and said solemnly, "If we can kill that chief priest first, we'll still have some chance of survival." The teammates on his behind was extremely excited. He glanced behind him and said, "But in order for me to accomplish, warrior leader," he was roaring and approaching Captain Choi said, "You guys have to temporarily hold off the goblin." Hearing that, everyone fell into dead silence. Captain Choi turned his head around and said, "Just hold him back for 5 minutes."
The rough guy raised his hand to stop him and said, "Wait a second, Leader Choi. Do you have any other way?"
Captain Choi, without bothering to answer the question, he rushed towards the monster and unleashed the move, letting the wind accelerate.
Everyone screamed madly, "This bastard!" Jin Tae-kyung's huge backpack was put aside. He looked at it and thought, they say that unlucky bastards will even break their noses when they fall backwards. He was sweating profusely and nervously thinking, I can't believe I'm meeting an intermediate boss. Monsters over $399. Not one, but two as well. The teammates holding shields stood in front, 2 people holding bows stood behind to defend, and Jin Tae-kyung was trembling, holding a spear in the middle. He thought, besides, I thought you guys told me not to fight. You damn said I was just a luggage boy. What can a F rank hunter like me do?
"It's coming." Rough guy pointed. The warrior chief priest rushing towards them, rough guy shouted, "Archer, don't hold back on your mana. Hit it with everything that you've got." Seeing lots of arrows flying towards him, the warrior chief priest immediately swung his sword to send it flying away. Rough guy ordered everyone, extended the distance, and continued shooting. The red-eyed goblin growled menacingly. It bounced up, causing all the surrounding rocks to break it. Screamed and flew towards Jin Tae-kyung group, they all shocking to seeing it. Rough guy tried to calm down and said, "Take cover." And boom, the chief warrior monster straight down to the group of people, everyone flying away, cause of critical hit. The rock piece scattered around kicked the brown-haired guy in the head and stomach. The guy with the beard was hit in the eye and they cried out in pain.
After seeing his teammates in pain, the round-head guy cover himself because he has a shield to protect him from flying rocks. He bent down and turned around to talk to rough guy Hung Min. Sok Ho and Jong Min are both his bad condition.
Hyung Nim, shouted the monster in your behind. And suddenly a booming noise rang out, the blood flowing all around with that hit. After seeing that, Hyung Nim and Jin Tae-kyung turned their attention towards him. Hyung Nim exclaimed, "Damn!" He suddenly named Jin Tae-kyung.
He was startled and replied, "Yes?"
Hyung Nim said and solemnly, "While I keep that thing distracted, take the others and hide."
Jin Tae-kyung tightly held the spear and replied, "Okay." Looking at him, Hyung Nim, confronting the goblin one-on-one, Jin Tae-kyung thought to himself, is he going to be okay by himself?
The goblin growled with angers. Looking at him, Hyung Nim roared and unleashed his power, increasing his strength and strengthening his shield. Hyung Nim muscles gained strength, even the shield became stronger. Hyung Nim put the shield on the ground, then he proactively rushed towards the goblin's super attacking speed. The goblin saw that and also prepared himself. Hyung Nim gritted his teeth, his forehead showing his veins, cause of anger. The goblin moved with that hand holding a mace and hit with full power. Hyung Nim didn't hold powerful attack, he bent down, causing the shield to crumble.
Seeing that Hyung Nim had fallen, Jin Tae-kyung cursed once. Scared images appeared in his head. He shook his head and thought, why do these kinds of things keep happening to me? If this continues, everyone will die again. There were still a few tears in the corner of his eyes, and he glanced towards team leader Choi. He was enthusiastically fighting with the C-rank monster. He thought to himself, it's been more than 5 minutes, damn it. So Jin Tae-kyung slowly held the spear and approached the front. He thought, now it only depends on me. At this moment the goblin was trying to grab Hyung-nim's head. He said, seriously, I have to stop this bastard at all costs, please make it work. Make it. He prepared to launch a one-hit attack. The goblin saw movement and immediately looked at him with sharp eyes. His spear stabbed into the goblins, but the spear was also bent, but he let go of Hyung-nim. The goblin growled. He looked at the spear stabbing his butt. Jin Tae-kyung's eyes were extremely determined. A second later he could only put down his spear and tearfully said, it's really bad. The goblin raised his arm to strike Jin Kyung, who was helplessly crying and kneeling on the ground. Suddenly there was a rang sounds in his head and he quickly opened his eyes. Clang. The system hasn't appeared for a long time. Now a notification appears.
Synchronization is complete. Your system has been transferred.
After system synchronization complete, the next second he was holding a spear to block the goblin's stone mace. His inner core is gradually brightening, then it burst into flames. A stream of power spread throughout his inner core. His eyebrows furrowed, his eyes became determined. The goblin raised his stone mace, it swung up and growled terrifyingly. Jin Tae-kyung's whole body is surrounded by a stream aura that flowing on his inner core. His eyes became cold. Then again system notification appeared in front of him.
Synchronization is complete. Your system has been transferred.
After notification he using his QI sense. After having the support system he now saw the goblin level. His level is 45 Hobgoblin Chief Warrior. Jin Tae-kyung laughed loudly and said, interesting, so this is how it's going to be. The goblin screamed again and rushed towards Jin Tae-kyung with his mace for attack. Now that he was possessed he avoided it easily because he was using the Jin family's footwork technique. Seeing that he couldn't beat him, the goblin screamed in anger and using his full force to attack Jin Tae-kyung and crush with his mace. But it's just a flash. Jin Tae-kyung quickly dodged it and become more closer to him. Jin Tae-kyung glanced at it and said coldly, first technique of the Jin family's spear technique. Brutal head of the dragon. He swung the spear and cut off the goblin's arm holding the stone mace. He turned around again from front to back and saw the goblin and using second teaching, whirlwind of the black snake. And cut the stomach with it. The beaten goblin screams in pain. Jin Kyung uses the third technique and fourth technique to strike directly spear towards goblin. Then using fifth form continuous attacks in front of his body, didn't giving him any chance to strike. The goblin screamed in pain. He pushed back for force attack and hit on the rock's walls. Blood also spurted out. He lost his strength and fall down on his knees. Seeing Jin Tae-kyung slowly approach, the goblin groaned in pain. Jin Tae-kyung looked down and said, I guess I don't even have to use my one-strike skill on you. He picked up the spear and stabbed it straight into its throat. After killing it, the ding-ding sound echoed in his head. He looked at the notification, then stroked his chin thinking, I totally forgot about the sound of the system notification, but it's thanks to the system that I was able to defeat this monster.
You have eliminated the chief warrior monster. Your level up.
Suddenly the voice Mr. Jin Tae-kyung approaching. Captain Choi also killed the chief warrior monster black magic user. He looked Jin Tae-kyung, who just defeated the warrior chief. He trembled and said you, with surprised look, and asked, what is your true identity?
After the raid, the people who were in charge of the gates were thrown into an uproad. 2 mid-tier rare monsters? Inside an E-rank gate? Only 4 E-rank hunters stuffed injuries. But thankfully, they weren't in critical condition. Whenever an incident like this occurs, it's required by law that the government compensate any damages to gears, medical bills that had to be paid, and any raid rewards lost. So if you were to combine everything that we earned from this raid, we made quite a profit. After the 4 injured hunters were transported to an ambulance, Leader Choi was escorted to the Civil Service Department in order to give his report. After sitting on a car and thinking a while, then command open character profile. Jin Tae-kyung amazed to looked at his profile showing again in front of him. He said his character profile has changed. The things that affects him on Murim have all disappeared. Then he thinking about his old character profile, Fame 500, son of a noble. Shame of the family. It's all disappeared. Well then again, it's not like I'm the son of a rich noble here, nor am I the sleeping dragon and shit. Then he command open quest menu.
Quest menu appeared. Betrayed, you have found out who the betray was. Regroup with the main forces and alert them of the betrayer. Afterwards, lead your people to victory. Rank, peak, restrictions, only for Jin Tae-kyung. Objective, eliminate the betrayer, incomplete. Emerge victorious, incomplete. Quest reward, enormous amount of experience and fame. Valuable steel box. Quest failure, death.
Jin Tae-kyung frowned looking at that announcement. He remembered that time he silently assessed, was it telling him to return to the Murim? Suddenly realizing something, he's silently sitting in the car. He thought to himself, the system still exists in the real world. That means the Murim world is not a game. Maybe. Suddenly team leader Choi pressed his face against the glass door to observe him. As soon as Jin Tae-kyung looked over, he was startled and said, "Damn it, you scared me." The captain turned around to the other side inside the car. He silently lamented, "What a jerk." When team leader Choi put his head in, he immediately asked what happened.
He leaned back in car seat inside and said, "I gave them quick report on what went down, and they should reach out to me within the next few days. I'm sure you will also be investigated, Mr. Tae-kyung."
Jin Tae-kyung thought to himself, the investigation. I don't want to see them again. Then he said with fearful voice, the thing that I requested earlier.
Captain Choi looked at Jin Tae-kyung. He remembered that time in the cave.
Jin Tae-kyung said, "Would it be possible for you to keep this a secret?"
Leader Choi replied, "Are you asking me to give a false statement?"
Now Jin Tae-kyung thought to himself, to begin with, I don't even know if this system will be permanent or if it's a temporary thing. In situation like this, it's best that nothing gets leaked out to the public.
Captain Choi suddenly looked at his watch and said, "Mr. Jin Tae-kyung."
Jin Tae-kyung replied, "Yes."
Captain Choi showed his watch to Jin Tae-kyung and said, "Take a look."
Jin Tae-kyung, after hearing it, looked at the watch and asked, "It's 2 o'clock.
Captain Choi replied, "It's made from in company using a C-rank magic gem. It's also been enchanted with some defensive magic, so I can use it as a shield during emergency situations."
Jin Tae-kyung nervously said, okay.
Captain Choi started the car and said, "Let's grab some food," and asked, "Do you like premium Korean steak?"
Jin Tae-kyung replied, "I've never really eaten one."
Captain Choi took Jin Tae-kyung to the Korean restaurant. The meat was sizzling and being grilled. The order list is on the table. Captain Choi said, "I told them that I was the one who subjugate them. The chief priest and the chief warrior."
Jin Tae-kyung, who was happily eating meat, replied, "Wow. Thank you. I'm sorry for making such a burdensome request, even though this is our first time meeting each other."
Captain Choi asked then, "Will you join my guild?"
Jin Tae-kyung didn't expect that his mouth was full with food spit out for unexpected request. With surprised expression he asked, "Huh? Me?"
Later the food plates were cleaned. The meat on the grill was also finished. Jin Tae-kyung's place is empty. Captain Choi sitting alone and silently thinking about Jin Tae-kyung. Wind on his hand, while shaking it, he was thinking the Jin Tae-kyung words.
"I have something important I have to take care of right now. Please give me some time to think about this."
He was about to raise his glass of wine to drink. His phone suddenly rang again. After taking the headphones and putting them on, he answered yes. "Did you look into it?"
The other guy replied, "Well, since you personally asked for it, I did look into it. But this person named Jin Tae-kyung, what is it that you want to know?"
Captain Choi replied, "That's what I was curious about and asked you to find out for me. So, do you have anything for me?"
The other guy replied, "Well, he was quite a big case. He first awakened 7 years ago at the age of 20. He was determined to be a F-rank hunter. There's not a lot of information about him during his days as a novice hunter. However, there is one thing that is quite interesting."
Hearing this, his body become more active and give serious look to listen. He said, "What is it?"
The other guy replied, "The Sangdong District Gate incident? He was apparently the sole survivor of that incident. I was quite shocked after hearing that."
Hear that news, he frowned tightly, extremely surprised to know that it was related to Jin Tae-kyung.
The guy on the phone continued talking. After that incident he disappeared for about half a year, and was interrogated by a lot of different inspections. He recently returned back to his guild about a year ago and has been running gates non-stop for that duration. He was fired about 4 days ago.
Leader Choi asked, "What was the reason for his termination?"
The other guy on the phone answered, "Well, they were trying to reorganize their guild. But I doubt a small guild like them can't even afford to do that. I bet he was fired because of that incident. They just let him go after carefully avoiding the eyes of the inspectors. I bet he was a burden to them."
After hearing all of this, Captain Choi asked again, "That's all you have for me?" and put wine on his side on table.
The other guy replied, "Yeah, that's all I could get. Do you want me to send you a copy?"
Captain Choi said, "Send it over immediately. I'll be going now."
The other guy on phone quickly replied, "Hey, wait."
But Captain Choi clicked and turned off the call. His hand on the table, tapping his fingers, looking very tense, remembering the scene where Jin Tae-kyung killed the chief warrior goblin in the cave. He thought Jin Tae-kyung the sole survivor of the gate that appeared in Sangdong District, and he's at least a C-rank hunter. He's standing up carrying the invoice of bills that they eat, but still thinking himself, but Jin Tae-kyung telling me he is supposedly a F-rank hunter. There are only 2 possible choices. He's been hiding his strength, or he's recently had another awakening. While walking, thoughts kept popping into his head. I doubt he had any reason to hide his strength this whole time. So the highest probability is that he's recently had another awakening. He give the bill with payment to a lady on cash counter. But his head still thinking about Jin Tae-kyung. It is possible for someone to go from F rank to a C rank that quickly. Captain Choi helplessly put his hand on his forehead and thought, it's not like we're living a game.
The lady on cash counter said that will be $1.
The sentence interrupted his thoughts, making him look stunned. Captain Choi face looked fearful, and he thought it's feel like I've been possessed by a ghost. He give his card to lady for payment.
The cash counter lady happily asked that will be on one card, right?
On the other side, Jin Tae-kyung rolling his eyes for looking something and saying it's not there. He turned his eyes another direction and looked around once more and saying it's not here either. Looking at the specific area, he said my capsule is gone. Jin Tae-kyung raised his head in tear on his eyes and he screamed looking at the sky saying which idiot took my damn capsule.
Suddenly familiar voice coming from his above. He looked up. It's Sung Jin-ho, angrily shouted with copying Jin Tae-kyung expression, you know I poured my heart and soul into taking care of that thing for 10 years.
Jin Tae-kyung looking above and shouted angrily. Damn, you stop messing around. This is a serious matter.
Sung Jin-ho teased and said oh no, I really do have it.
Jin Tae-kyung screamed and said have what?
Sung Jin-ho just pointed at himself and said that capsule I'm the one who picked it up.
Hearing this, Jin Tae-kyung life seemed to bloom. He shyly said I love you, so the two of them argued back at the fourth floor of the room.
Sung Jin-ho said, I'll be selling that VR game capsule for $100.
Jin Tae-kyung surprisingly said what? Are you trying to scam me right now?
Sung Jin-ho replied I guess you don't want it then.
After a while of struggle he finally got the device back. Jin Tae-kyung was lying on the bed staring at something. That's Captain Choi's business card. Looking at it he said I guess if you live long enough you experience quite a lot of things. He crossed his legs to look at it and thought to himself it feels like it was just yesterday that I was wandering around looking at flyers and pamphlets for work. I can't believe I'm getting recognized and scouted like this. He remembered his conversation with Captain Choi at the restaurant.
He offered a salary $100,000. As for the rest of your wage, we'll pay you the same amount we pay our C-rank hunters. So what do you think?
Jin Tae-kyung that time didn't think too much, that was close. He almost gave in back then. Now remembering that high salary makes him excited under normal circumstances, he would have signed, stamped, sealed, and even left a kiss mark that contact paper. But still suddenly he remembered, what if the system disappeared tomorrow? That fear coming on his mind, that's like eating too much food and getting a stomachache from it. That point he will be killed by the captain and say oh you fake bastard. Give me my money back. At an early age, I realized that this world isn't a forgiving place. But with the strength that I have right now. The system. What if I'm able to use it permanently? After thinking about it, Jin Tae-kyung silent again. He held his head not knowing what to think anymore. Suddenly he trying to stand up and said ah damn I can't hold back myself anymore. He quickly rushed out of the room. Leaving behind that capsule. He started running across the street. While running he thought even though I've worked really hard for the past 7 years, I could never escape that label of being an F-rank hunter. Running more faster he thought to himself these shackles that have been tormenting for so long. I really want to get rid of them as soon as I can. His look determined again thought to himself hunter ranking re-evaluation. Going to the side of the road he quickly called a taxi. The driver stopped and said,
Welcome, where should I take you?
Jin Tae-kyung replied please take me to the Hunters Association at the Bucheon district. Then he whispered let's give this a shot.
Driver said sir, you're in a taxi that operates within Seoul Metro region.
Jin Tae-kyung said ah. Okay.
The huge building is a Hunter Association headquarters. Inside there was a happy voice here out. D rank? As expected of my son Tilda, you will be the one to finally lead our future.
His son scratched his head and said haha, well I'm not an official hunter just yet. I still have to receive training, plus I'll have to look for a guild as well.
His father said, don't worry about that. Your father had already made a spot for you.
Oh, really? I thought you said you didn't have any room left at your guild.
His father laughed and said, I can always find a way. Then he thinking himself, I was able to finally get rid of all those low-ranking hunters that were an eyesore for many years. Then he said to his son, in any case, make sure to rest up and let's head to work together next.
Hearing the words of his father he thought himself using his phone. Awesome, I'll celebrate at the club tonight, Tilda.
At that moment everyone ran away whispering and gossiping. There was something big going on in the evaluation room. It seemed like the C-rank hunter had made her appearance. To hearing that the man sitting and whispering with his two friends, he said AC rank. That's not bad, but that shouldn't be that big of a deal, right?
To hearing their convenience on the other side, father taking his son with him and thinking, oh, AC rank. Maybe I should get my hands on this person.
The girl on the other side said to his friend who is sitting with cup of tea, that's true, but his ability to control mana above an A rank.
The man with his son after hearing that become shocked and said what?
The elevator on the 3rd floor. Then it's going down. Everyone was whispering and gossiping. Pointed elevator is coming down. He's going to be here soon.
Kim Sang-shik stared at the elevator with great anticipation, thinking, I don't know where the guy suddenly came from, but this is a big opportunity for me. He looked around at everyone and thought, let's see if there are any big guilds around, but nope. It seems like they haven't appeared yet. Looking at the elevator down to the second floor, he thought to himself, since my guild master told me to recruit this person without worrying about the cost, this is the perfect opportunity. I'll offer twice the amount of anyone else. He was about to pull out his business card. His eyes were determined. A recently awakened person is an easy catch. If I can successfully recruit this person into our guild, I can probably promote myself to become a vice guild master. The elevator stopped on the first floor. Everyone wanted to get in first. The Kim Sang-shik said, hey, stop pushing. The elevator door opens. Kim Sang-shik bent his body 90 degrees, then held out his business card with both hands and said, hello. Nice to meet you. I am the team captain of the Sopung Guild, Kim Sang-shik. He shouted loudly. Our Sopung Guild is a guild filled with many traditionals and has a renowned guild in the Bashan region for many.
A familiar voice rang out. This is my first time hearing the Sopung Guild is a renowned guild.
Kim Sang-shik, after listening, he slowly raised his head and said, excuse me? After watching the person in front of him, his eyes were open with unbelievable expression and he said with shaking voice, it you?
Jin Tae-kyung smirked at him. He said coldly, it's been a while. Mr. Kim Sang-shik. Name, King Sang-shik. Former work boss. He was one of the 3D rank hunters in the guild, and he only cared about protecting his own life inside the gate. He was your typical petty man who would bully the weak. Since he was the team captain, he would always pick on the F-rank hunters. And out of the F-rank hunters, he hated me the most. 2 years ago, after the incident that happened in Sangdong district, he would talk behind my back while pretending to worry about me. The one who advised the guild master to fire me was none other than him. And this bastard was also the one who personally notified me of my dismissal.
He said with his shaking hands, why the hell are you there?
Jin Tae-kyung smirked, then said, good question. I wonder why I am here.
On the other side, other people also want Jin Tae-kyung to join them. One of them said with the Sangdong Guild, we promise to give you anything that you want.
Mr. Awakened, we're the Invincible Guild.
Mr. Awakened, please join our guild.
Jin Tae-kyung waved his hand and said, there's too many people here. I'm heading out.
Kim Sang-shik still can't believe in his eyes, his body shaking with nervousness, and says, then are you the one that's awakened?
Jin Tae-kyung was surrounded by many people. Everyone wanted him to join our guild, and Kim Sang-shik sat down on the ground and nervously looking at Jin Tae-kyung being surrounded by everyone, and he was happily thinking to himself, I feel so relieved. I feel like 10 years worth of shit got flushed out of me. Is this what they call a shitgasm?
A girl soared up in front of him and said, Mr. Awakened, I'm from the Soul Guild. If there is anything that you want, please don't hesitate to ask.
Unconditionally, he took her business card and said, thank you. I'll contact you guys later. I'm a bit busy right now.
She feels happy to hear that and said with excitement, really? Then we shall look forward to hearing more from you.
Everyone said please contact our guild too.
Jin Tae-kyung thought to himself with smile, of course I'm not calling you guys back.
Everyone behind him kept saying he must contact us.
After leaving the building, he approached the trash can, then he dumped all the business cards into the trash. After he finished throwing it away, he wiped his hands and said, even though a C-rank hunter is a mid-tier rank, there shouldn't be this many people around. I guess I was an unusual case or something. While smiling, he said, but this is only just the beginning. As long as the system exists, I can continue to grow stronger. And
at this time someone called his name, Mr. Jin Tae-kyung. After looking behind it, Kim Sang-shik sprinted and said, Mr. Jin Tae-kyung, wait. After reaching near to Jin Tae-kyung again, he said, Mr. Jin Tae-kyung, please wait a second. Kim Sang-shik breathed heavily.
Jin Tae-kyung asked, what do you want? In his mind he thought, since when did this damn guy call me Mr. Tae-kyung? You were calling me you bastard and other vile names up until a few days ago.
Kim Sang-shik sweat dropped looking at him and said, it seems I have made a grave mistake. Please forgive me. I'll take full responsibility over everything. So just like business, let bygone be bygones, and I hope you'll be able to move on.
Jin Tae-kyung asked, what business?
Kim Sang-shik replied, I'm sure you're already aware of it. If you weren't accepted by a big guild, that's pretty much where your career as a hunter ends.
Jin Tae-kyung said, of course I do. But I also know that if you're at least a C rank, the big guilds will try to recruit you. Suddenly he heard the voice and didn't says anything, and looking at the road, it's Taxi coming towards him.
Kim Sang-shik still kept talking, no, I'm just telling you to be logical. There's nothing for you to lose. Besides, there's a lot of C-rank hunters around these days. So you won't be considered that special. He quickly comes on his front trying to stop him and said, however, if you're with us, we will do whatever we can in order to assist you. Hell, we'll even give you anything that you want. I've gotten permission from the guild master himself, so everything will be fine.
Looking at his scared, sweaty face, he thought to himself, he looked like he's panicking. Jin Tae-kyung walked over to open the car door and thought to himself, then again, the F-rank hunter he told to get rid of has reawakened into a C-rank hunter. He laughed maniacally and thought if the guild master of the Sopum Guild hears about that news, of course he'll be in a lot of trouble.
Kim Sang-shik blocked the door and said, please think hard about this. Why don't we head over to a nice cafe and have a drink? The guild master is coming here as well.
Jin Tae-kyung said coldly, Mr. Kim Sang-shik. He threatened and said, if you really want to recruit me, then make sure to tell the guild master this.
Kim Sang-shik said in fear, excuse me. He doesn't understand what Jin Tae-kyung's saying.
He coldly pointed at him and said, there is one person I don't damn want to see. So if he can get rid of that one person, I can think about it.
Kim Sang-shik trembled and cried out. He didn't expect that to hear it. A second later he angrily raised his fist and shouted at Jin Tae-kyung, you know what? I've had enough of this, damn. After all that I've done for you, to think you bastard would continue to look down on me.
He noticed the moment and glanced at the Kim Sang-shik. The sound of punching each other rang out. When he was done he slammed the car door and left, getting into the car. He leaned against the seat, he clasped his hands over his forehead. Inside, Jin Tae-kyung thought to himself, this is fine. It's over now, then said to the taxi driver, take me to the Hope Guild headquarters in Songne district.
Taxi drive after hearing Jin Tae-kyung remember and said, oh ho. It's the young man from last night. I thought I told you I only operate in the Seoul metro area.
He got out of the car, closed the door and thought to himself, goddamn Seoul metro taxis. Why do you keep turning back here in this area? Kim Sang-shik after beaten bruising next to the tree. On the other side the forest surrounding is gloomy. It's deeply and with darkness full of mystery. The teleportation gate appeared there. In front of the gate the two-person is standing with fully loaded arm. It's Jin Tae-kyung and Captain Choi are looking around. Jin Tae-kyung bit his lip in fear and thought, I ended up coming in the end. A few hours before.
Captain Choi
when he was in his
said,
room he was doing meditation to increase his QI and system notification.
Then
Jin Tae-kyung looked at Captain Choi and wondered if it means he's at least a B rank or even higher. Jin closed his eyes after
I was a bit caught off guard last
and
time.
thought it's relief that
But I guess I'll be able to see just how strong he is
A
now.
lot of unexpected things happened yesterday. When he received the money transfer notice, the Peace Guild deposit online $10,300,000. He happily went to the supermarket to buy beef and there was also a cart of meat. After that he and Sung Jin Ho ate and drank all day because I was so excited, so I ended up going all out. The system notification again sound ding out.
QI meditation has been completed. A small amount of turbid QI has been dispelled.
After reading notification, he opened his eyes with relief. He rubbed his full stomach and said, but why did he have so little energy coming out, and it was also stuffy? He looked at his hand, then frowned and said it's a lot different from when he was in Murim world because of environmental pollution in this world. At that moment the phone on his desk rang out. Jin Tae-kyung holding his phone and saw that message. The message written, do you have time today? After thinking for a while, he was finally at the coffee shop, a cup of coffee on the table. Jin Tae-kyung and Captain Choi sat on chairs facing each other. He scratched his face a little shyly and said, I'm sorry I heard what you said, but it's a bit awkward for me to join the guild immediately.
Captain Choi put his hand in his pocket and said, I guess it can't be helped. He pushed the letter in front of him and said, this is my second offer.
Jin Tae-kyung seemed very surprised. After holding the letter and opening it, he read the content in it and said, a temporary contact. Are you asking me to become a mercenary?
Captain Choi said with serious look, it's not an official contract. The conditions of this contract is similar to that of a B-rank hunter. You can also decide on the length of your contract as well.
Jin Tae-kyung looking at the information, he did not answer anything.
Captain Choi continued and asked, will you really refuse this as well?
He silently thought if conditions were like this. Then he said, but, making Captain Choi look at him. Jin Tae-kyung asked, why are you going this far for someone like me?
Captain Choi did not hide it, and quickly answered, because I trust myself.
Jin Tae-kyung didn't understand it.
Captain Choi explained that I trust my intuition and ability to determine the value of a person. That is why I really want someone like you in my guild. Jin Tae-kyung didn't say anything. Captain Choi said, so, will you sign the contract? Jin Tae-kyung with nervousness nodded. Captain Choi said, very well. Please write down the hours that you want.
Jin Tae-kyung said, yes, sir. And quickly hold the pen and writing down and thinking 7 days. A week should be enough for me to see if the system is a temporary thing or not. After writing it, Jin Tae-kyung handed over the contract and said, all right, I'll be in your care from now on.
Captain Choi replied, my pleasure.
He stood up and thought to himself, finally, taking the first step as a C rank hunter. Then he smiled and asked, should I show up to work tomorrow?
Captain Choi replied, no. Jin Tae-kyung looked surprised. Captain Choi pointed his finger to his watch and said, we start now.
In the present time. Jin Tae-kyung thought, so this is a D rank gate.
Captain Choi said, quite big, right?
Jin Tae-kyung quickly answered, yeah. It's pretty big.
He adjusted his gloves and said a gate of this size is pretty average. B-rank gates are when we really need to hire a guide. He took out the map and looked at it while saying thankfully we were given this map when we bought the rights to this gate, so we shouldn't worry about getting lost.
Jin Tae-kyung replied, that's good to hear. He scratched his head and nervously asked, but what do you mean by buying the rights to this place?
Captain Choi didn't look at him, and said it's just like what it sounds. This gate is now mine. Captain Choi pointed in one direction, and said in other words, I have sole ownership over this gate. And said let's go this way.
To hearing that, Jin Tae-kyung shocked and thought to himself, he has sole ownership over a gate? In South Korea, the gates are the property of the nation. Since these gates have the ability to provide unlimited amounts of energy from magic gems. Gates are pretty much considered the same as a diamond mine. So you're telling me he was able to have all of that for himself? I know he was the son of rich family, but I don't think he would be this well off.
Captain Choi walked forward and said let's get going.
Looking at his halo, Jin Tae-kyung covered his eyes and said, what a glorious halo. And thought, Leader Choi, just who are you?
A lizard is crawling. Then, he was startled when Captain Choi foot on him. Captain Choi said, while walking, the monsters that appear in this gate are the swamp lizardmen. They are a large tribe that break off into smaller militaristic force. Since we're at the entrance, we'll start to see the smaller and weaker forces first. They're usually in a group of 20, so let's hurry and kill them and move on.
Jin Tae-kyung listening Captain Choi carefully, and thought, I knew he's rich and all, but isn't he looking down on a D-rank gate a little too much? The swamp lizardmen aren't known to be weak monsters. Although I've never seen one myself. Does that mean he's pretty confident in his own abilities? Few hours before, Jin Tae-kyung shocked to hearing that only the two of us? Then I'm withdrawing.
Captain Choi replied, I am completely aware of what you are feeling. Captain Choi said coldly, however, let me say one thing before you leave. I am also a reawakened hunter.
Jin Tae-kyung, after hearing that, stopped and turned around with surprised look and asked, reawakened? I thought you were a C-rank hunters.
Captain Choi frowned and said C-rank was my old rank. Given in the first measurement and a burst of aura, he said, I received my reawakening after that.
Then Jin Tae-kyung looked at Captain Choi and wondered, it means he's at least a B rank or even higher. I was a bit caught off guard last time. But I guess I'll be able to see just how strong he is now. He was so confident, then he activated his QI sense.
Captain Choi remembered, said also. The swamp lizardmen usually use a harpoon as their weapon.
The harpoon stuck close to his leg, but luckily he avoided it in time. He shouted and asked, what is this?
Captain Choi looked at him and said, so please be careful.
Strange foot stepped forward on a rock. Numbers of monsters from level 40s appeared. They roared in anger because someone entering on their territory. Jin Tae-kyung looked and said, they're here.